Ivy Rasmus, Pyrocynical's accuser. I just finished a 40-minute interview with him where he was very forthcoming. In this interview, he did show me a picture of a learner's permit that would correspond with the age that he was claiming during the incident with Pyro, 15 going on 16. I'll leave the final judgment to you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Comic Crow, and on Monday's stream I had promised that I was going to do this video because I want to compare what happened between Kwite and Orion with two other situations. The first one is Pyrocynical, the second one is Mewtwo King. Now, in the case of Pyrocynical, the video you just saw at the start is from about 2 years ago when Tommy C, shot from the point, had interviewed the accuser of Pyrocynical. Now, this situation was at the time, a 15-year-old was engaging in erotic role play with a 19-year-old. Their age difference was always 4 years. The real question was, did Pyrocynical actually know that this individual was as old as they were? There was a lot more nuance in this conversation. There really was. However, Ivory actually did have proof that they were a minor, and that as a minor, they were engaging in erotic adult role play with Pyrocynical, who was a legal adult. And first and foremost, I just have to say, had the cancellation attempt by Ivory taken place today, I honestly don't know if Pyrocynical would have recovered from it. Okay, because back then you did have something to substantiate Ivory's claims. You really did. And Pyrocynical's explanation for it requires that you actually listen to him and that you understand that there is nuance in what occurred there. Now, for those of you who don't want to take another deep dive into the situation, my purpose of bringing this up is really just to provide you with some comparisons between how the Pyrocynical situation went down versus how the situation with Kwite and Orion went down, between the reactions from everybody. But for those of you who, you really are curious about this stuff, check out the Crows of Judgment channel. That was our original channel, and we did plenty of live streams and plenty of videos talking about it. But just to compare it with what's going on between Kwite and Orion, I thought it was just really, really weird how when you had Ivory come out against Pyrocynical, plenty of people jumped on that bandwagon. That's typically how it happens. However, there were far more people questioning Ivory's story, and we were one of them. Right? We're very skeptical when these claims come out generally. We do want to look into them. We do want to ask questions. So for us, this was pretty typical. But I remember there were plenty of people that were like, hey, hold on, hey, Ivory's story, hey. They were poking holes in what was going on. And what happened with Kwite and Orion made the claim. Orion had no evidence to back any of it up. Orion even had their own words from 4 years prior in which they described the night where they claimed to have been assaulted as making them feel good, and how they didn't understand why their really good friend wasn't spending time with them anymore.
We met up for the second time, and I remember it was February because we went to see Black Panther. It was fun, and I distinctly remember him getting out of my car, but stopping midway and saying, "Just remember, I really care about you," and then closing the door, which made me feel really good because, this was my best friend.
But in spite of that, you had everyone, for the most part, decide that Kwite was guilty, as others decided just to not talk about it. Don't get dragged in. Don't get involved. Okay, just ignore it. Ignore it. Wait for Kwite to respond. It was very different from how the Pyrocynical situation went down. Now, I do want to say, when I was looking at the sub count losses, and again, you can check it in one of our old videos on the Pyrocynical stuff, Pyro was losing hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Kwite lost only about 60 or 70,000, right? And to me, when I look at that, it kind of reads like, well, their communities, in Pyrocynical's case, there were far more people in his community that legitimately were disgusted by the messages and bailed and just didn't talk about it, just stopped supporting him. Where you had other people in that same community being very vocal, right? It split pretty much down the middle. But then you look at the situation with Kwite and his audience. He only lost about 60,000 subscribers. And to me, I'm like, is that because everyone sort of knew, right? Is that because his audience kind of already knew that there was many issues with this story? It's an interesting thought. So anyways, this is Ivory's new account, their old Twitter account. I don't believe it's active anymore. And this is their tweet when Orion came out against Kwite. Why does everyone believe the Kwite stuff, but nobody believed me? Not to compare and contrast, but it's wild to be the person whose platform got destroyed because of how hard everybody worked to fuck me over and how little people did to stop it from happening. Feels like everyone came to the conclusion I deserve the punishment for it. I'm so close to just ending my shit right now. I've been close for weeks, so I'm just gonna call the cops on myself and say goodbye for a bit to y'all. Thanks to the people who stuck it through. Your support is meaningful, but my head is telling me I deserve the pain and has been for years. Now, listen, obviously, Ivory is okay. Ivory made other posts telling people that they were okay. I'm not entirely certain whether or not an attempt was made. There was a photo posted. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, quite literally, Orion had no evidence. Ivory actually did have some evidence to substantiate what they were saying happened. What Ivory claimed occurred did occur. It was more of a situation of, did Pyrocynical actually know their age? And was Pyrocynical actually attempting to groom this individual? Or was Pyrocynical just hooking up with some random on the internet and engaging in, and I shit you not, big, fat, sweaty dragon moves and being crushed and farted on? I'm literally not making that up. That was what they were doing. But in the Pyrocynical situation, he had to come out. He had to own up to having this really bizarre fucking kink. And people did eventually, side with him and say, okay, listen, there really isn't any proof to what Ivory is implying of you being a predator. However, you got some really weird kinks, and people still throw it in his face today. And take that what you will. I mean, when I look at it, I go, that sucks. It doesn't seem like Pyrocynical did anything in terms of being a predator. He acted irresponsibly. He wasn't verifying people's ages. And, if you want to hold him accountable for it, I think that was warranted. I was just that one guy who was going like, yo, he just ain't a fucking pedo. But now I want to move on to the case with Mew2King. And before I do that, I want you to listen to this from Kwite's video first.
My apprehension when it comes to sexual contact is not limited to Orion. Not only did I never have sex with him, I have never had sex with anyone. Even as of recording this video, I am still a virgin. It has been a long-running insecurity of mine. Due to my general focus on work, the pandemic killing the ability to pursue anything in that vein for years, as well as causing me to backslide in my social ability and confidence like it did most people, a fair few of my friends have had to deal with me drunkenly venting about my nervousness around it. And it's something I have had casual discussions with my friends about nearly a year and a half after Orion claimed I had raped him.
Now, when I talk to you guys about the case with Mewtwo King, for those of you who are completely unaware, and I wouldn't blame you, okay, because that situation happened a little bit past, or I think a little bit before the Pyrocynical stuff even. But this is the live stream that Mew2King had to do. It's got 1.2 million views. And in here, Mew2King has to also reveal something about himself that he is deeply embarrassed by, that he is completely ashamed of. And I think it's terrible. Okay, I think it's terrible that he's ashamed of what happened to him, because it's a freak accident that when he was a baby and physically he was not capable of doing what he was accused of doing. There was a circumcision when he was a baby. It did not go well. There was a lot of damage. He's not capable of doing what he was accused of doing. But somebody decided that either A, they just didn't like him, or B, they thought, hey, free clout. So they accused Mewtwo King of being in a car and whipping his dick out, jerking off, and jizzing on. It's ridiculous. it was fucking absurd, and people went after Mewtwo King for it. And Mewtwo King was forced to do this live stream, okay, in which he reveals this incredibly tragic thing that happened to him. I'm gonna play it, okay, because I want you to hear it in his voice. This is what happens when people say idiotic things like, oh, I'd rather side with the potential liar than the potential rapist. Maybe you want to say that on the Pyrocynical side, because for the most part, Pyrocynical, you know, he came out of that one looking pretty clean. And yes, his embarrassing kinks are all over the internet now, but otherwise he's back to making content and he can, for the most part, live a pretty normal life. Look at what happened with Mewtwo King. Mewtwo King had to tell the entire world there was a freak accident with a circumcision and his penis isn't capable of functioning the way most people's do. He had to do this because some random little nobody on the internet decided that they wanted him to hurt, and they made him hurt.
Pretty much impossible, or extremely, and I mean extremely, difficult to feel pleasure, orgasm, or any of that stuff. And that relates...
I know, Jason.
Sorry.
Take your time. It's okay. Take your time. It's fine.
And that relates to... If you've followed me over the years, I'm sure you've seen a fair share of posts about my depression and wanting to kill myself, and that was, it's literally like 90% of the reason at least. And
did that make anyone feel good? Did that make anyone feel good? Did you feel good hearing this man? You can hear the pain in his fucking voice as he describes how this has impacted him, okay? I'm not talking about the false fucking accusation right this second, okay? I'm talking about this physical trauma that he has lived with for his entire life, that he is ashamed of, deeply embarrassed by, and he had to blast it out across the fucking internet because one individual decided that they wanted him to suffer. One person did that to him. And what happened after Mewtwo King has to, let's be real, has to bare his soul, reveal something deeply fucking personal that is none of our business, by the way. It's none of our business. Well, no worries. He made a post admitting that he lied and that it's all made up. They made a post just admitting it's all a lie. It made up. Haha. Just for bants, guys. Just joking. Just joking. Fuck Mewtwo King. Just jokes, guys. Guys, it's not that big of a deal. It's not a big deal when false accusations... The world we live in, okay? The world we live in is this one, okay? Where you can levy a completely deranged, bogus, false story against an individual, somebody who, in two of the three cases we've talked about, between Kwite, Mewtwo King, and Pyrocynical, two of these men, all right, were forced to reveal deeply tragic and personal details about their life to the internet because people came forward with baseless, zero evidence accusations against them. And then we got to figure out the actual victims here. You want to say Mewtwo King, well, he wasn't victimized by the person who made the false accusation. I would say he was. You put him through trauma. You made him reveal things about himself. He probably feels like he was violated on some level. His privacy was violated. Things that he never wanted to share, that he struggled with sharing, everybody knows about now because of a false accusation.
Someone who has also made the same mistake of acting too quickly on allegations and hurting people I cared for because of it. This type of thinking is harmful and needs to stop. It is absolutely a good and noble policy to support victims when they speak. You should support their ability to speak and not ridicule them for speaking, but the saying is trust but verify. Orion framed himself as a victim in this situation. He did it to try and use the way the internet generally reacts to allegations in order to publicly abuse me and hurt me on the widest scale he could imagine, continuing that same pattern of behavior he's shown towards me for years. I wouldn't say you were complicit in my abuse if you didn't stay neutral or even if you outright attacked me, but you actively progressed my abuser's goal of trying to hurt me in any way he could by taking Orion at face value. By trying to support an accuser as the victim with no questions asked, you helped an abuser further hurt their target.
I'm gonna end it there, and actually I was gonna play the conclusion conclusion clip to the end. There was something that was brought to my attention earlier today, and I want to end the stream on it, especially after listening to Kwite's words there. This is somebody, they're a random person. I don't care if they have a YouTube channel or whatever. I really don't care, all right? I just want you to read what's on the screen with me. In light of figuring out beyond a shadow of a doubt that Orion had completely fabricated their story and that Kwite was the actual victim of abuse in that relationship, this individual ran to Twitter and goes, okay, so Kwite might have not raped someone, but that still don't mean you were valid in not believing a woman who claimed they were sexually assaulted off RIP LMAO. Come on, guys. This person is absolutely disgusting on every single level, okay? Absolutely disgusting on every single level. You might want to use the excuse, I didn't know. I thought that I was making the right choice because I really did think I was better off believing the liar than a potential rapist. And after seeing everything, after finding out everything, you realize now that was wrong. And next time you will not behave like this. This dumbass goes, okay, yeah, Orion was lying. But come on, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Why didn't you believe them? This person has, I'm just going to say it, this is brain damaged, okay? I'm not sure there is any fixing this. I'm not sure that there is any explaining to them why they are such an awful, disgusting human being in light of what just happened. And I guarantee you, don't even bother trying to communicate any of that to this person, because you know what the flip side is going to be? They'll turn around and just say, well, you just support rape. I'm just standing for victims. I want people to be able to come forward and you don't. This person doesn't give a shit that they were going after an actual abuse victim and taking the word of their fucking abuser. This person doesn't fucking care at all. The 730 fucking idiots who like this garbage doesn't give a shit at all. They'll do it to the next person. They don't fucking care. These are not good people. These are not moral people. These are individuals who are heinous and evil. They will engage in terrible, malicious deeds against other human beings because they feel that that's just the safest bet. Disgusting trash. You've heard it from Kwite's own words, what this has done to him. You heard it in Mew2King's fucking voice as he had to reveal those details about his life. This swag, punch a bitch, pronouns, whatever they are, is disgusting human waste.